Welcome to the Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories at the National Guard Militia Museum of New Jersey in Seagirt, a partner of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Today is Flag Day, June 14th, 2017. I am Carol Fowler, Director of the Center, with Riley Veazey, Manasquan High School History Honor Society student, and Christopher Murray, Georgian Court College student. Our honored veteran is Philip Randall "Randy" Farmer, who served in the United States Marine Corps during the Cold War, post-World War II, and the Korean War. Thank you for wanting to be here today, Randy. I can call you Randy?
Yeah, that's what everybody does.
Your eyewitness account is considered a primary historic source and a valuable contribution to the Veteran History Project here at the Militia Museum. And good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us about how you heard about the project.
I heard about it through my granddaughter, Riley Veazey.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, why did you leave school at such a young age to join the Marines?
Because I didn't like school. That's a good answer. I decided I wanted to go into service, go see the world.
Did anybody in your family serve before you?
My cousins and stuff that were in the Marine Corps and the Navy during World War II. We had a lot of relatives that were all in during World War II.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had an uncle that was in. My uncle, he was in the Mexican border war, and then my other uncle, his brother, he was in the Navy in World War I.
Wow.
And then, like I say, he was in the Mexican border war, I think it was. He was a mule skinner.
Mule skinner?
That's what they called him.
What does that mean?
It was a regiment out of New York.
Oh, it was just
and they handled the mules and horses in them days. Don't forget, you're talking before World War I. They still use the animals and stuff.
Right.
When you joined the Marines, were they drafting people then?
Yeah, they had a draft, but they were eliminating in 1948. They were downsizing all the military. They weren't really drafting, I don't think, at that time. They didn't start drafting heavy until the Korean War started. That's when they started drafting everybody.
That makes sense.
How did you choose the Marine Corps out of all the different?
I just picked it. That's
Can you describe the climate of the Cold War?
the what?
During the Cold War?
The Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
That's you're talking after. That was.
Well, actually, the Soviets got the atom bomb in 1949, so that's considered the beginning of the Cold War, and you were serving then. So can you describe what the atmosphere was like, what the mood of the country was at the time, with us and the Soviets, communists, whatever? Was McCarthyism?
It just at that time in 1949, they were downsizing all the military. They were mothballing ships, and they were downsizing all the services and everything.
Okay. Where did they send you for basic training?
I went to boot campus in Parris Island in South Carolina.
And did you like your drill instructors?
Huh?
Did you like your drill instructors?
They were all right. They ain't your friends. They're good. They're
right.
teaching you what you had to learn.
Was there a difference because you were in the South and you came from the North?
No.
No. President Truman integrated the armed forces, but you said they weren't integrated when you were in boot camp.
We weren't integrated until the Korean War started. That's when they integrated the Marine Corps.
Oh,
Before that, it wasn't integrated. The Navy was in the Army, but the Marines were.
how were you? You have such a thick New York accent, so how were you treated in the South, being a Yank? Did you have any kind of,
With who? The people?
like when you would go into town,
No,
the
they
civilians? No.
never bothered. No, not, but I never.
Oh.
I mean, I really wasn't down south that long. When you were in boot camp, you don't go off the island.
Oh, okay.
All right? And then when I got out of boot camp, I left. I went to Virginia. I was in Virginia going to sea school, and the people were very nice. You go into Norfolk. That was where the Liberty Town was in Norfolk, Virginia.
Was it like an adjustment from living in the north to living in the south?
No, they just have different, I didn't see that much difference.
Were your officers Southern, and were they World War II veterans?
They were mixed. We had some that was PLCs, they're platoon leader course officers, and then we also had Annapolis officers. You know, they went to Annapolis and then they went into the Marine Corps. We had one guy, our executive officer, he was from Annapolis.
Did you enlist with any friends?
Hmm?
Did you enlist with any friends?
Did I enlist?
When you enlisted with, did you enlist
We went with one guy that we went to school together. And he went in the Marine Corps with him.
Do you know his name?
Yeah, Dick Benelli.
And so you didn't feel like there wasn't a difference? Because I remember that time you said that you came down on the bus and they told you to get out of the back of the bus?
You weren't, at that time, you weren't allowed to ride in the back of the bus. Only the blacks could ride in the back of the bus. And we were all sitting in the back because we could sleep back there. It was a 2-day trip coming up on the bus. And they wouldn't move the bus unless we went and sat up in the front seats. So we had to sit in the front, and the black people came on and sat in the back.
Did you have any other instances like that?
No, that's the only time. Once you get past Richmond, Virginia, that's the Mason-Dixon line, then anybody can sit any place in the bus.
So, in New York, there was never...
New York is, once you went north of Richmond, Virginia, then there's no segregation. It was all mixed.
All right. What were other classmates your age doing at the time when you enlisted?
They were going to school, yeah, in high school.
Did a lot of people go to college?
Huh?
He wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, they went. I went to a small grammar school, and then most of the guys that were there, in my class, I had about maybe 12, 15 guys that most of them went to college. And a couple of us didn't. We went into the service.
Oh, okay.
Was your family upset when you left and enlisted?
They had to sign the papers to let me go in.
Interesting. Because you went in at age 17.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're 17, you have to get signed
You're a
in.
minor.
18, you can go in by yourself.
Did your relatives come down to your Parris Island graduation?
No. Nobody came to visit you here.
Nobody came to
We
your...
were there for 3 months. I mean, we were there December, January, February, and then you were finished. It was just 3-month training period.
Well, that's good. It wasn't too hot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Where did they send you when your training was over?
We're in
What?
Virginia.
Oh, you were in Virginia.
Where in Virginia did you have to go then?
Portsmouth, Virginia, in the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. They call it Norfolk Naval Shipyard, but it's in Portsmouth, Virginia. They're 2 towns next to each other. The Navy Yard is actually in Portsmouth. The operations base and there's a couple other there's a lot of bases all there in Norfolk and in Portsmouth is Portsmouth's the Navy Yard. Then you have the Gunnery School in Dam Neck, Virginia, and then you have the Seagoing School is in Portsmouth in the Navy Yard. And then you have the operation bases in Norfolk. And you have the Naval Air Station is in Norfolk. And they're all right there. They're all together.
Did you do any specialized training?
You went to sea school because you're going to be assigned on the ships.
Yeah.
You said you were trained as demolition, rockets, and flamethrower?
Yeah.
Where were you trained for that? At Parris
Right
Island?
in Camp Lejeune.
Oh, you went there next?
Excuse me?
When were you in Camp Lejeune?
After I left Seagoing, I went to Camp Lejeune in January 1950.
Was the war going on then?
Excuse me? No, the war didn't start till June 25th, 1950.
So let's go back to Norfolk. Is that where you met your ship, the Kearsarge?
No, I went to sea school there. That's a training,
sea
that's a
school.
school. And then when I come out of the school and everything, I was there for 2 months, and then I got assigned a ship up in Quonset Point, Rhode Island, an aircraft carrier.
So you said you did, what was spit, when you always call it spit and shine, what was that? When did you do that?
The what?
Seagoing, don't you call it spit and shine?
Yeah, that's when you're assigned to the carrier. That's sea school.
Sea school?
And then you go from there to the ship, whatever ship you get assigned. You get a battleship, you could get a cruiser, I got a carrier.
What were your like duties on when you were at sea school?
You have a brig on the ship, you're the orderly for the captain and the orderly for the executive officer, and you have the gangway watch. That's the different duties on the ship. Plus you're assigned to a gun station.
For
anti-aircraft guns.
general quarters?
General quarters,
Right.
right. I was assigned to a 40 millimeter anti-aircraft gun. I went to the gunnery school in Dam Neck, Virginia, to learn how to use the 40 millimeters, 20 millimeters, and 5-inch 38s.
Was that your first duty station?
Yeah.
Okay. And you,
Sorry. Were you a plank owner on the Kearsarge?
Do you know what a plank owner
Yes.
is? No, you have to be there when the ship's commissioned to be a plank owner.
Oh, so yeah, I didn't get a chance to look up the ship.
My ship had been around a while.
It had been around.
CV-33. So that was the ones that they used all in World War II. That was,
Oh, I see.
They were the most popular one. They had 3 more they built after that. At the end of the war, the Midway, the Roosevelt, and Roosevelt, and there was another one. 3 of them, they were CVBs. They were a little bit bigger.
okay. And while you were there, President Truman was,
He was the president at that time.
so what was your opinion
Of what?
of him? Did you like him?
Didn't bother me, I didn't know him. He had a problem with MacArthur in the war.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to read both sides of the story, what you want to believe. You know.
When did you get your first tattoo?
In Norfolk,
Virginia?
yeah.
And,
Where did he go on the ship?
okay, where did you go on the ship when you were seagoing?
Where did it go?
Mm-hmm.
The first cruise we used to go out for 2 weeks at a time. I went down to Haiti the first time. The next time we went to Philadelphia. Next time we went to Halifax. And then, we came down to New York and we unloaded because we're going into dry dock up in Boston.
So after you were seagoing, what did you do next?
What were
Oh,
What were your missions? What was your mission in Haiti? Your mission, like why did your ship go to Haiti?
In other words, the ship trains pilots. The ship is training, keeping the pilots qualified for carrier duty. And you'd go down the coast until you got a week down, and pull in for the weekend in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, and then another week going back, and we go back to our home station, which was Quonset Point in Rhode Island. That was a Navy air station there.
So what was a typical day like for you on the ship?
Well, they'd have general quarters, you'd have anti-aircraft firing, targets and stuff like that. The planes would be pulling drone. Then the fighter planes and stuff would all be taken off and landing, and being qualified. As you went down the coast, after they do so many flights, then they fly back to their station. Another fighter group would come out from another station, and then they would qualify. And then you did that all the way down. Where they came from, I don't know, but there's all different Navy air stations all the way down the coast at that time. And you're patrolling the eastern seaboard is what you're doing. That has so many carriers out at sea at a time. There always was 3 carriers out of our base. And out of them 3, there'll only be maybe 1 into dock, and the other 2 might be out. Or you went to the Mediterranean, that's 2. And they do. The task force in the Mediterranean, you do 4 months at a clip, 5 months at a clip over there.
Did you go there?
Yes, I did.
With the Kearsarge?
Not on seagoing, no. I went with the Fleet Marines.
All right, we'll talk about that later then. Go ahead.
The next question, where did you go next? Where did you go next?
Yeah, after dry dock.
After dry dock, where were you stationed next?
After the dry dock, that's when they did away with our detachment. We were sent to, I was sent to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina in the 6th Marines.
Oh, was that when you did your...
2nd Marine Division, 6th Regiment.
That's when you got your specialized training?
That's when I was assigned to, a rifle company. I was what do you call it? It was an assistant gunner on a bazooka.
Oh, you said you did demolition, flame...
That was later on.
Oh, later on? Okay, so first you did bazooka?
First I was with the rifle company.
Okay. And
That's Howe Company. 6 Marines.
and then after that...
We went to the Mediterranean then.
Oh, and then you went to the Mediterranean?
Right.
Where'd you go?
We
Any
did the
island?
Mediterranean. We went to all different ports.
Uh-huh.
First one, Lisbon, and then from there we worked our way all the way through the Mediterranean. To Malta, we went on, and we did training. We made amphibious landings and stuff like that. In Malta, we made landings. In Crete, we made landings. Sardinia. We went into Bizerti in Africa. Italy and the French Riviera, Greece, to Crete. You floated all around, you stayed there. It's a whole task force. It's the 6th Fleet, that's what they call it. And they have a whole battalion of Marines they keep there all the time. And we're all assigned on different ships, we're just passengers on the ship there.
So is that a good place to be stationed?
Yeah, it
Like
was
to
very
go out-
nice, yeah, nice Liberty ports.
Did they like having, like, when you went out on Liberty, were like the
Excuse
people...
me?
When you went out on Liberty, were like all the locals nice to you guys?
Oh yeah, we had a good time. French Riviera, we was in Gulf of Wine, it was beautiful there. Nice beaches, we went swimming, had a good time.
So, then after you were in the Mediterranean, where were you stationed next?
Then the Korean War started, and then we were shipped right from there to Japan. We went through the Suez Canal on a transport. And we went to Kobe, Japan.
That's interesting.
And they changed our designation from the 2nd Marine Division to the 1st Marine Division. And to the 7th, from the 6th Regiment to the 7th Regiment. They just changed the numbers. And we're still in the Howe Company.
Okay. So, and what did you, while you were there, were you on a ship? Like, what were your duties? What were your duties when you guys were in Japan?
It was a rifle company. We were there training for a week, and then we went to Korea.
Okay.
Take us to Korea.
Okay, so where were you when you got to South Korea? Was that when you first
We
got
landed
there?
in Incheon.
Is that the actual Incheon landing?
Was that the actual Incheon landing with
Yeah.
McCarthy? Oh, it was?
Yeah.
MacArthur?
MacArthur, I meant?
We were the support unit. We weren't the initial, we weren't the first wave.
Oh, okay.
We were like the 6th wave or 7th, or whatever. And then we were in the battles for the Kimpo Airfield, Han River, and then Seoul, for the capture of Seoul. And then they gave it back to Sigmund Rhee, who was the president of South Korea at the time.
Let's describe.
Okay. Can you describe what it was like to, can you describe what it was like to be in the landing? Can you just,
After the landing.
can you describe what it was like after the landing when you got to Korea?
What was it like?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
We weren't there, so only you were there, so we need you to draw a picture for us. Like, describe, was it day, was it night, was it raining, was it, like, what was happening? What was the terrain like?
Where, in South Korea? It was rice paddies and then when there was, what do you call it? It was all villages, minor villages, where the locals lived, and rice paddies. That was all South Korea. And then when you got into the city of Seoul itself, that was a wreck because it was all blown up and everything because they've been fighting back and forth in
That's
there.
right, yeah.
They have a wall around Seoul. And then we came through the walls and then down into the city. Into the, well, it's the city.
Did you find anything about those other cities? Okay. All right, so on your discharge, it lists, what was it? Wonsan, Hungnam.
Wonsan was North Korea. That's
Okay,
where
so we're not there
we
yet.
landed in Wonsan.
All right, so first you captured and scoured Seoul.
Down south.
Down south, right.
We were in South Korea. Then we were pulled out of there after they secured Seoul and everything, and the Iron Triangle, they call it. Then we were brought back to Incheon, put back on a transport, and went up and landed in Wonsan, in North Korea.
So that's a port?
Excuse me?
That Wonsan is a port, it's a port
Yeah,
city?
we did an amphibious landing there.
Can you describe an amphibious landing?
You're in boats and they run up on the beach and you climb out.
Just like in the movies?
Just like the movies, the ramp goes down and you come out. Or you're in LVTs, that's the landing vehicle tractors, then you come out the back of them. They can go in the water or go up on the land boat.
Did you know how to swim then?
Oh yeah, I know how to swim.
Back then, you knew?
Oh, I went to swimming school and everything, they make you go, you have to go to that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When you go to boot camp and sea school, I went to their swimming school, each place you went. But I was brought up on a beach,
Oh, okay.
so I knew how to swim. A lot of people didn't know. They'd sink to the bottom, had to go pull them out.
Wow. What was morale like? How did you feel during that landing? After you had already seen combat, right? At Seoul.
Yeah.
Were you ready to get in there and use your training?
Yeah, we were ready, but we were lucky. There was no resistance when we landed in Wonsan.
Oh, I see.
They were gone. They said Bob Hope was there welcoming us in. He was with the USO at the time, over there. It was right. It was going there Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's when he used to make his trips over to the different areas.
Did you see Marilyn Monroe there?
I didn't see anybody because we never saw him.
Oh, you never saw
We
him.
just heard that he was there. We never saw him. We went right in. We were heading inland. And we just kept going. We were going up into the Chosin Reservoir.
How were you heading inland? By truck?
By foot.
On foot.
We hoofed it all the way in.
And what kind of supplies did you have? Did you have extra socks? Did you have warm weather clothing? I mean, did you have
No, when
parkas?
we landed, we had the same clothes that we had when we were down south. And then when we got up in the mountains, that's when they decided that we had to get warmer clothes. And then they gave us a sweater and stuff like that. And then finally they come up with parkas.
Right.
And then they had to come up with different shoes and everything for us.
Right. Because if your feet were no good from, the walking
We wore
and the cold.
regular boots, field, we call them boondockers, regular field shoes with leggings. We wore leggings. And then when we got up into the mountains, we were up in Quarterie. That's when they finally gave us parkas, and they got the boots for us, these snowpacks they call them.
Do you know how to spell that?
What?
Kodori?
Quarterie?
Yeah. Is it K?
K-O-R-T-R-I or something. It's in the book. You know what I
Quarterly.
gave you there? If you look, you'll see it.
All right, let's
The
open the book.
spelling's right. Give me the book. I'll get it. You got it in your hand.
Yeah, I do. We marked the pages where you're in.
Here, hold this.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry.
Here, you know
I
what?
remember the numbers.
Then you better off you look. Look in the index and you just look for quarterly.
Oh, okay, good idea.
It's all alphabetical order.
Oh, it's Koto-Re. K-O-T-O.
You got it?
All right, yeah. Yeah, I knew I
Quarterly's
heard
the
of it
first
before.
village we came to after we got up on the plateau.
Oh, yeah?
And then
I'm just filming it.
Then the next village after that, north of that, was Hagaroo. And then from there, then we went to Udamne.
All right, let's just slow down now. Let's talk about Koto-Re.
Coterie.
Make us feel like we were there.
That's where we were for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
They
okay.
brought hot food up to us. When we were there, we'd come off the line, we'd take turns, go back to get some hot turkey. But we go out on patrols from there, that we were looking for resistance, you know. We'd go out and come back on the same day usually. Then we went to Hagaroo, we went further north, and that's when we came to the reservoir. And then we went from there up into Udamne Valley. We were the point,
That means you went first.
yeah, and we were waiting to be relieved. Because we had been the point for so many days, and it was our turn to be in reserve then.
Now, along the way, were you passing many civilians, villagers? Nobody?
Desolate.
Desolate.
We'd find a village, maybe some people, they'd break the ice in the stream and wash the clothes. That's how, they probably never saw a white person before, who knows?
Right.
It was all mountains, you know, it was in the mountains. I think the elevation there is like 8,000 feet. I don't know, so you can't be, but I know it's pretty high.
Was it hard to breathe?
Well, you were huffing and puffing,
The
you know,
oxygen?
it depends, you know.
Was there a lot of
I
people?
mean, you're just going along fine, but, you know, if you were running and stuff, you're up in high elevations.
Did a lot of men get sick from the altitude?
No, not that I know of. The biggest thing was, as it went on, was that the temperatures dropped. And it went down to like 30 below zero.
So what would you guys do at night? So what would you guys do at night to keep warm?
You're in a hole. You try and dig a hole for yourself, and you sit in a hole in your sleeping bag,
And what about the snow?
and the snow behind on top of you.
Wow.
We were living in the ground.
Did you ever get buried by snow?
Yeah, well, you put if you were in your bag, you closed the hole so the snow wouldn't come in.
Oh,
They didn't have no tents or anything. You were strictly sleeping in your foxhole. And if you weren't in it, you were on the move.
I'm going to film a picture of sub-zero temperatures. Marines had to improvise ways to heat sea rations and brew coffee.
What?
How did you heat your sea rations and brew your coffee?
Did you ever eat any?
No.
They give you a box every day. And in the box there's 3 wets, 4 dries. 4 wets and 3 dries. The 4 wets, one is a can of fruit, and then 1 can of maybe hamburger patties, 1 can of beans, maybe 1 can of chicken vegetable, 1 can of spaghetti, depending, they had a variety, whatever was in the box. And then they had the 3 dries that had cigarettes in them, and they had a cookie in them, and they had little things to make coffee, you know, little bags of thing. And they had a candy bar maybe in it or something like that. And that was your ration for the day. That was your day's ration. You got that once a day. Usually.
And the food truck never came up with the hot
Oh no,
food?
there was no food truck. That was only once with Thanksgiving.
Ah.
But the regular, you got regular rations. You always ate the rations.
Were you well supplied? with
We got the
ammo?
ration, oh yeah, we got supplies and everything. When you go up into the mountains, they would tell you, you know, make sure you put stuff in your pockets that you don't know when your next meal's, you know, when you're gonna get your next ration and stuff.
The food truck didn't come up for Christmas? The food truck didn't make it to you guys for Christmas?
I wasn't there for Christmas, I was taken out by that time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
There were no food trucks. Then by Christmas time, they were evacuating everybody out of there. By Christmas Eve, they had almost everybody out.
Oh, really?
And they went out at Ham Hum.
What?
They went evacuated at Ham Hum.
Your unit did?
Yeah, well, that's where everybody went out that way.
Oh.
From the reservoir. Whoever made it down, that's where the port was, where the ships were waiting to take them out.
And that's how you got out too?
No, I got flown out.
You got flown out, medevac.
I got flown out of Hagaru.
All right, we'll talk about Hagaru in a minute. Was Korea the first time they used helicopters?
Excuse me?
Choppers, helicopters.
Yeah.
Was Korea the first war where those were used?
Were they there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had helicopters. That was when they improvised down, they did it down south. When we were down south, we had guys wounded and they said, if we had a helicopter, we'd get the guy back to because most guys would die, you know, up on the line.
Right.
And this helicopter come down, they punched the windows out of it, and they took the guy on the stretcher and stuck him out. His head was out one side, his feet was out the other side. And they took him and they got him down to an aid station.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, then they said it's a good idea, they could bring a helicopter. So then they put the thing on the bars that, you know, when they land on they don't have wheels, they just have bars. So they hooked two stretchers, one on each side, one on each bar. And then they put two guys, one on each side, that were wounded, and they'd fly them. That's how they started using the helicopters to get the guys out if they were wounded.
So did you have a corpsman with you?
Yeah, every company has their corpsmen.
And
Have a
how-
couple of corpsmen.
A couple.
Yeah. They're sailors,
Right.
but they're assigned to the Marine Corps. They wear a Marine uniform, and they wear their rate on the uniform. In other words, they can wear either a sailor's uniform or a Marine uniform. They're qualified to read whatever.
Are they identified as,
Corpsmen?
yeah, in battle? You don't want to be a target, right?
Well, most of them didn't. They wouldn't wear it because they get shot.
The white, yeah.
Because they were machine gun our ambulances and everything. They
Ah.
stitched the crosses and everything with the machine guns.
Oh, wow.
So you didn't want to advertise where
Right.
you were. We even had a chaplain. He wouldn't carry a gun. We had to send a guy with him all the time. He refused to carry a weapon.
Yeah.
They said they don't care whether you're a chaplain or not, they'll shoot you. But that was his way. We had other ones, they carried guns
Yeah.
because they'd shoot you. They didn't care what you were. But it showed it, the ambulances, they machine gunned them. Big red crosses on them, they machine gunned them.
All right, Randy, take us back to Hagaru.
Hagaru,
Yeah. Is that the last place you were?
that's where I got evacuated out. They had an airstrip there and I got
What
flown.
happened to you?
My
What was
feet were
happening there?
frozen.
Oh, okay.
And then when I got out, when we finally got into Hagaru, we were up in Udamne, and it took us a couple of days to come down through the mountains. So we went to that Fox company, and then when we kept working our way down, we were the furthest ones north. There was a big battle up there. The reservoir, just imagine a reservoir north and south, okay? We went up on the left side, let's just say that would be the west side. We were on the right side, we got pulled back, and we went up on the left side. And the Army unit got put up on the right side.
Right,
It was a
right.
small Faith was the name of it. They got wiped out. They got caught out on the ice and they were slaughtered.
Right.
Some of them survived. There were survivors, but not many. And we went up the other side. We didn't know nothing about it. I read about it later, what happened there. And we went up on the other side, and we were all the way up on the north. We were going to the Yalu River. That's what they told us. We're going to go up there and do a barracks duty. But that's when the Chinese came in
Right.
full then. And then that was it. Then we had to start working our way back to get back to Hagaroo.
Oh, I see.
And we were sent, the group I was with, we were sent up in the mountains to protect the supply. It's only one road that went in there.
Right.
It was a dirt road. And that dirt road, going back out now, they were trying to take everything we could out of Udamne Valley. And what we couldn't take out, they torched, and they burnt everything.
But you took all your wounded, right?
Excuse me?
Did they also torch the wounded?
Yeah. Took the dead too. They were strapped to they had them strapped on his fenders, anything. They took his whatever they could out, down to Hagaroo.
Oh, okay.
Hagaroo, they were down there fighting. That was where Chesty Puller was. Did you ever hear of him?
Yes.
Okay. He was the 1st Marines. I was in the 7th. We were the 1st, the 5th, and the 7th.
You were 7th?
I was in the 7th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The 1st Marine was Puller's. Our colonel was Litzenberg. And another guy was Murray, who was the 5th. So that was your 3 regiments, and then you have your artillery regiment. And then we were the 7th. We were all the way up at a point. Now we'll kind of come back down and get back down to Hagaroo. And they had to get down through the gorges and stuff.
Right.
And that's when they blew up the bridges on us. They dropped new ones in, and the engineers put the bridges on. And the column was let out by the bulldozer in the front and a tank behind it. And then all the wounded in the trucks and over behind that. And then they had so many different companies down, protecting the convoy. And then they sent us up in the mountains. They called us the Ridge Runners. And we went up to clear the ridges so they couldn't be shooting down at them. And then we worked our way through the mountains down to Fox Company. And then when we got Fox out, then we kept going until we finally got to Hagaroo. And then they had tents there, and they had that protected. And they had an airstrip there where they could land 2-engine prop planes. Like a C-47, I don't know if you know what that is. It's the old planes with 2-engine. It's like a little cargo plane. And that's what they landed and taking them off there.
Can you describe what that was like to go up above and be the Ridge Runner? What was that like? I mean, what did you see?
We were a rifle company. We would just go and we went all, right through. They going through their lines. We went through it night and day.
So what did you find? Were they in foxholes?
They were there waiting. They would just shoot them.
And were they...
Chinese.
So they weren't really a trained army, right? They were just
Oh, it was
civilians?
a big army. It was 100,000.
No.
They had
100,000.
over something like 100,000 people.
So this is who you're retreating from the yacht. You're retreating from them from the Yalu River.
From the Udamne.
Okay.
We weren't retreating. There's the general of the 1st Marine Division, it's in the book, he said we weren't retreating, we were just fighting in a different direction. That was his statement.
Oh, okay.
And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had that airstrip to get the guys out and stuff. He was the one who insisted the engineers make that strip. Because the guy that was in charge of the 10th Corps was Ammon, who was an army man. He was MacArthur's man. And he didn't want them to build the strip. And Smith went and built it anyway. Had it built, they had to grade it. The plane took off. When it landed, it went up the hill, turned around, and then when it took off, it went back down the hill. And that's how they got them out. That's how I got out. That's how they took me out. They flew me down to South Korea, and then from South Korea, then I was taken to Japan, and I was in a hospital in Japan.
Where in South Korea did they take you? Do you remember that flight? Well, you didn't really tell me about your frostbite.
My feet got frozen. I got my boots off when we got to Hagaroo. They had tents for us to get in to get warmed up. And when I took the boots off, my feet swelled up. I couldn't get the boots back on.
Oh.
And my left foot was the worst. And as soon as the doctor saw it, they tagged it and said, you're either going to go out on a truck or you're going to get flown out. And, whatever was available.
I'm thinking that it couldn't have just been you. Other men must have had the same affliction.
Yeah. A lot of them lost their feet.
Oh.
Lost their feet, lost their hands.
Wow.
My hands, you couldn't feel them for like months.
Really?
But they weren't black, only my feet were black. Parts of my feet.
Right.
Guys, when I was in the hospital, I saw the guys, their feet were black, they cut them off.
Wow.
They lost them.
Are you still affected by the, do you still feel anything with the
No.
frostbite? How about in the winter?
They crack open in the wintertime, that's all. But I put Vaseline on them.
Oh, okay. So, where did you have to go in South Korea after, like, on the plane? Do you remember being flown out?
They flew it down south someplace, and then from there,
Oh, okay.
then I was flown to, what do you call it? I was flown out to Japan, to Hiroshima.
Okay. All right, it's time for Riley to read the parts that are about you in this book. Go ahead, Mr.
Well, there's only, my name's just mentioned in there, it's nothing to do with me. You can read it yourself, it's 3 pages there, that's it.
At this, Bonicelli jumped from his hole. One of his best friends from the Bronx, a kid he enlisted with named Randall Farmer, was with Howe Company. And just that section?
Yeah, wherever he's mentioned.
Right. And then Dick Bonatelli awoke in a med tent. His entire left side burned. 2 figures were standing over him. A corpsman he did not recognize and his buddy Randy Farmer. He did not like the look on their faces. The corpsman said, "Sorry, Marine, morphine's all gone." Farmer remained silent, but lit a cigarette and stuck it in between Bonatelli's lips. Then he removed Bonatelli's gloves, Benelli's gloves, and began rubbing his hands. "Tell my mother I love her and that I was thinking of her," Benelli said. It hurt to speak.
What was that about?
That was when... Did he get frostbite?
He had frostbite and he was shot in the back. He had to take his rib cage out.
Oh my God.
Did he survive?
Yeah, he
He lives in Florida.
Sorry.
I haven't seen him in 20 years.
You guys rib cage.
You should do a reunion surprise party.
Yeah. And I think those are the pages you were in.
He's a retired postman now.
Oh, sure.
Became a letter carrier.
So he must have got really good health care when he got flown out.
You mean after he got out of the Marines?
No, he must have got really good surgeons.
Well,
that
you mean
helped
when they
him.
got him out? Yeah, well, I don't know how they got him out. All I know is, we were still in the mountains when he was in this tent. They had a tent in the woods. That's where we put the wounded, and they put the dead outside.
Oh my God.
And once if the guy died in there, then they took and put him outside. And then they had trucks to bring them down and stuff. But how he got out, I don't know. Because I know after that I left. I still had there,
You were already, yeah.
We had to be back. We were on the line.
Oh.
We had snipers that were shooting at us. That's how he got shot, by a sniper.
Oh, okay.
In other words, when we traveled through the mountains, any guys that got wounded, we took them with us.
Of course, yeah.
And we had them all wrapped in supply chutes. You know, a supply chute, they drop food to you, or drop
Oh, okay.
ammunition,
Yeah.
and they're color-coded. So you know what's what.
Parachute, okay.
Well, like if it's red, it means maybe it's medicine, or ammunition, if it's this color, I don't know. Today, I don't know. But we took them and wrapped them in to keep them warm, the wounded.
Right.
And then we had them laid out in the field, and the snipers were shooting at them. And we were running up to get them out, to
Right.
get them down in the woods where they couldn't see them. And that's when he got shot. And then he got shot in the back. But he was a survivor in the Fox Company. He was there. And he got rode up for the Silver Star. He wound up at the Silver Star. And then how he got back, how they got him out of there, I don't know.
Oh, can you tell that story again about how he was in the hole? And there were 2 guys in the hole, you said.
That was the guy who got the Medal of Honor. That's in the book.
And one of them is this guy that was shot in the back?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Different guy altogether.
Different,
But they
okay.
hang out together down in Florida
Now they do, okay.
today. Somehow he knows them from down here. I have no idea. I've never met the man. I just know he came from Jersey, and he was wounded badly, and they discharged him out of the service and everything. And then he was home, and in the story it tells, I don't know if it's in this one, but they called him up on the phone and told him he had to come to Washington. President Truman's going to give you the Medal of Honor. He had been written up. He didn't know anything about it. He says, I'm very busy. He said, would you just tell him send it in the mail? He says, you better come with your Class A uniform on and get down here. And he's supposed to be a big, tall guy. I never saw the guy. I don't know him. And they said, and when Truman was trying to put the medal on him, he stepped on his shoes. He got mad at the president because he ruined his polished shoes. But he's in the book there. You know, you read the book.
Right. Seems like an excellent book.
Hmm?
It's a good book to have.
Oh, my son has that. He has it signed by the authors and everything.
Oh, okay.
My one son, he's what he called. I gave the book to him. He got the author, and we met the author and all, and he signed the book and everything for me.
That's someone local, right?
Yeah, he's a nice one. I think, were you on Seagoing? You said that there was an actress that stopped or something on vacation or on her honeymoon on your ship?
That was Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, that's who it was. I couldn't remember.
She was when she first got married, she was on a honeymoon in Cannes, France. She came on board the ship. I was on a cruiser then at the time, on a light cruiser, the U.S. Worcester.
Oh, we need to know that. Okay.
That was the ship I was assigned while in the Mediterranean. We were just passengers on the ship, though. We weren't the Marine detachment. But that was Elizabeth. When she married Hilton, Nicky Hilton.
Okay.
So she was like 18 or 17, 19 years old at the time. It's by 18.
You were in the hospital in Hiroshima, Japan, military
That's
hospital?
where I was brought into Hiroshima, into an army hospital there. And then from there, they stripped you down, clean you up, and then they put us on train, took us up to Yokosuka, Japan, the Naval Hospital up in Yokosuka. Yokosuka, Japan. It's a naval air station, a Navy station. Has a hospital there, but it's a regular Navy station in Yokosuka, Japan. And then from there, I got flown out back to the States.
Philadelphia?
Eventually, I got to Philadelphia, yeah.
Were you in California
I went to
first?
Hawaii first, Wake Island, Hawaii, San Francisco, Texas, and then finally Philadelphia.
And then I know you made a telegram home. Was that the military that?
I didn't send the military. The ham operators were getting the information, and they would notify your families how the guy did, but that's how my family found out that I was alive. Some ham operator got my name or something, and then he told. And then when we were in the hospital in San Francisco, they made a phone call for you, and they hooked you up with your family. You could talk to them for 5 minutes, and then they had to, they made a deal with the phone company so they could call each guy who was brought in, and then they'd have a phone so you could talk to your family to say hello, tell them you were all right. But the ham operator was the first one. How they did it, I don't know. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Did you need the nurses to write letters home for you, or did you write your own letters home?
When? And I'm in the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, I write my own letter. I could write.
Yeah. Well, you said your hands hurt like for
They
months.
were numb. You couldn't feel nothing with them.
Oh, okay.
But you could write.
Oh, that's good.
You could pick up the can of beer with it. No problem.
Oh, okay. So did you meet a lot of people in the hospital, like other wounded?
Yeah, well, I was in a frostbite ward, they call it.
Oh, yeah.
You could be wounded, but you had to be frostbite to be in that ward. It's this terrible smell. We didn't smell it because we were in it, but the people who would come to visit you, they would take you. They take you outside in the hall or out into a lounge someplace because the smell from the dead, from all the dead, I guess the dead skin and everything. It was. You didn't smell it because you were living in there, but if anybody came in, they would like this,
So your family never saw you when you
Oh,
had
my
it?
family never come down because I was in Philadelphia. They lived up in New York. I used to go home on, you'd let you go home. Go home on weekends. As long as you could walk. They gave me crutches and finally I got a cane. Yeah, they could walk. You walked them.
So what was your homecoming like? The first time you came home, they saw you. Can you
When was it?
no, can you describe it? Can you describe?
Yeah, I got home at like 12 o'clock at night. When I got into Philadelphia, they checked you out, and they said, they checked. The guy said, "We're going to let you go home for 30 days, and just stay off your feet, and relax for 30 days. There's nothing we can do for you. It's just got to heal. It's going to take time to heal." And then I had gotten issued a uniform and all, and then I took the train from Philadelphia to New York, and I got home like at 12 o'clock at night. Took the subway, and then I went out for the night, party. And I was home for 30 days, and then back at the hospital, and then they worked on you for, every day they would work on your feet, They kept, what they're doing is just cutting dead skin off, and keep working and working.
Right.
They were going to do plastic surgery and stuff, and then finally I said, I got out. It was healed enough, and I went out and went back to full duty. I was there with 3 months altogether.
You went back to full duty as a Marine? What do you mean you went back to full duty?
I went back in the Marine Corps.
So where did you have to go?
I wound up, I got assigned to Brooklyn Navy Yard.
All right.
And then I was there for a couple of months, and then assigned back down to the 2nd Marine Division, back to the infantry. I was in Brooklyn for, I guess 4 months, I guess it was.
What work did you do there?
I worked in the brig there.
That's the jail?
That's the jail. We had 200 prisoners there.
What was your job?
I was the corporal of the guard.
You were the boss?
I was on the desk at the gate.
Was it good work or was it good
It was
work?
nice duty. It was.
Oh, you were on the desk, so because of your feet, you didn't have to
They had a
stand.
prison there. We had 200 prisoners there. And then you had Marines inside the prison, each ward, each tier, whatever you want to call it. You had like 3 Marines inside, and then you have a guy on the gate. And then you're on the gate, and then you're on the door to coming into the prison. And then you have a receiving place downstairs where they bring in the new prisoners. And then they break them in down there until they get their paperwork done, and then they go up to the main prison. They're there to be either court-martialed or they're there to get sent back to wherever they came from. If they were depending on what they're in there, what their charges were. It was a regular prison on Flushing Avenue in Brooklyn. It was up on the 5th floor in a Navy building.
So
It's a regular prison. And then from there, they get court-martialed, and then they either get sent to retraining command in Camp Allen, Virginia, or they get a dishonorable discharge, or they get a BCD or DD, or they get sent up to New Hampshire, Portsmouth. That's another prison. You go up there for 6 years.
Wow.
That was it.
Were they allowed to have visitors?
The prisoners?
No visitors?
No. Not that I know of. They were only there, that's a temporary place.
Oh, okay.
They're there to get court-martialed or sent back to wherever they came from. If they were just, most of them were AWOL. In other words, they deserted from wherever they were getting sent. We only had Navy and Marine prisoners there, no Army. And that they were just being held there, and it's the 3rd Naval District brig. It's In other words, for the 3rd Naval District, that's what that brig was for. Each district has its own brig.
So during this time that you're serving, had you been keeping in touch with the guy who you went in with? What was his name?
Bonelli?
Bonelli.
Yeah.
No, he was in a hospital in Brooklyn, in St. Albans. He was in a naval hospital there. And then when he got out of there, he was down in, he got assigned down in Quantico, Virginia. And then from there he got discharged out. You know, they put him out medically. No, put him out on a medical. Because he was done.
So the next thing that happened to you was it was time to get discharged, right? September of 52?
Yeah, but I went back to the 2nd Marine Division.
Oh, what did you do there?
I was an instructor there in the flamethrowers and rockets.
And where was that?
Excuse me?
Where?
In Camp Lejeune.
Oh, okay.
I was in the, what do you call it? I was in the 8th Marines there. We did demolition. I went to demolition school there, and then I went to, and I was a corporal at the time, and I did the instruction. I taught them how to use flamethrowers and stuff.
Did you like that job?
It was a nice job.
Yeah.
You know, you were an instructor. You go out in the field with them just like you're in the field with them with everybody else. They're all new guys just coming out of boot camp, and you're seeing if they can qualify to use a flamethrower or to use the rocket. I was in a weapons company, they call it. You have machine guns, you have mortars, and you have the flamethrowers, and you have the rockets. I was with the flamethrowers and the rockets.
Were we still deploying troops over to Korea at the time?
When they came there, then after they were trained X amount of time, they might be there for a couple of months, and then they'd get shipped out to Korea. They were preparing them to go to, from there they'd go to the West Coast and go to the winter camp there, and then from there they get shipped out. We stayed. We would go to the Mediterranean. When I was getting discharged, my group was getting ready to go back to the Mediterranean.
Oh, okay.
But I was getting out, so I got discharged.
All right. Did they try to get you to stay?
Oh, yeah.
In the reserves?
They wanted me to extend.
Extend,
yeah. They offered you to ship over. They offer you different things, but you don't believe everything they tell you.
How did you know that?
Know what?
To not believe what they might promise?
Because I saw what happened to all these guys from World War II that were brought in when the Korean War started.
Oh.
The whole Marine Reserve is completely activated, okay? Ted Williams, he was a pilot, he got activated. All these guys were activated. They were home, sitting in their living rooms, and I got a knock on their door and told them to report Monday morning to the thing. They said, "What are you talking about?" They says, "You're in the inactive reserve, and now you're being activated." They said, "I don't know what you're talking about." These are stories that they were told to me, the guys that I know what happened to. And they were actually, when they were at the end of World War II, you would say you were in Japan, in the occupation, or you're in China in Tinsin, and then, okay. So when you were there, depending on how many different medals you had, whether you had, how many combats you were in, like they have the thing you see on the paper there, it says you have the Korean thing with 2 battle stars. That means that was 2 campaigns or 3 campaigns, whatever you were in, and they go by that, any medals that you got and everything. And you got so many points for each thing. And when you got so many points, then you're eligible to come back to the States. Now this is the end of World War II, okay? This is like, after they signed the surrender. So now they all want to go, everybody wants to go home, but guys got to be there. So the guys were assigned in China, guys in Japan. So if you wanted to go home, they say, listen, if you go home and you sign into the reserve, you go home right now. Otherwise, you got to stay until you get enough points to go home. It might be a year from now.
That's right.
So a lot of them said, what are you going to sign? He said, oh, it's the inactive reserve. The war's over. And nothing, you ain't no gonna ever see it. You don't even have to go to a meeting or anything. You're in inactive reserve. Just sign this paper, and then we'll send you home. They signed the paper for 6 years, and now they're sitting home. 1945. Now it's 1950. 6 years ain't up. Their reserve time is. They're still in the reserve. They were activated. Some of them were very happy with it, and a lot of them had businesses and everything. They had to leave their families and all. And they said it wasn't. I had a guy sitting at home. He said, I was sitting in my living room last month. He said, and here I am sitting in the foxhole. And they explained. Then they asked them what happened, and they tell you. This was some of them, not everybody. That didn't. A lot of them got duty stations in the States and stayed in the States. But a lot of them got shipped to Korea. When they got shipped to us, and we were in Sakai in Japan. We were training for a week there, and they brought these reserves in that we had never saw before. And now they're being put in our company to make our company a reinforced, a full combat company instead of a peacetime company. They added another platoon and this and that. They had to rebuild the whole division. And these guys were there, and they said, Farmer, go down to the armory, and these new guys, they don't even know how to take a rifle apart. And they were reserves. They never had training or anything. And you had to show them how to take the M1 apart, clean it, and put it together. I said, one time, I'll show you. Here, this. Here's how you take it apart. Here's how you put it together. See you later, fellas. I got to go to the beer garden. And that's what they sent over, guys. They weren't even trained. It was a shame.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them were trained. They were from World War II, but then a lot of them, I'm talking about guys that were 18 years old. They had never even seen a rifle yet. They hadn't never been to boot camp. And they sent them over.
Did you use your GI Bill for anything?
Yeah, I got, I took an apprenticeship in the Navy Yard in Brooklyn. And in the apprenticeship, they gave you the GI Bill. They give you a couple of dollars a month to supplement your pay.
Right.
I forget what it was. It was peanuts, but it was something. Wasn't anything. And then when I applied to find out about it, for your tax purposes and stuff, they couldn't find nothing on it, and they records were lost.
Oh, in the fire, St. Louis?
In the fire or something.
Yeah.
And then I could never use it because they said they didn't have any records of it. Never been.
They said they didn't have any records of what?
Of that I went to the apprentice school and everything.
Oh.
I was there. I worked in the yards for 5 years. When I first come out, I took the test and everything, and I got in, and I worked there in the thing for 5 years in the Brooklyn Navy Yard and Bayonne Navy Yard.
And then from there you went to the police department?
Huh?
From the Navy Yard you went to the police department?
Yeah, then from there I went. Well, I was bricklaying after that, and then I went into the police department.
You said that you had to show your DD 214
Yes.
to become a New York City police officer.
Right. You have to be a citizen.
Oh, a citizen. I thought maybe you got veteran preference.
Well, they want to see that too. No, you got nothing. They want to see you discharged, that you were honorably discharged.
Oh, interesting.
Or they won't accept you.
That makes sense. Yes, of course.
Hmm?
Yeah, because if you were dishonorably discharged, you might have been in the brig, and they don't want you to be a cop.
Even a general discharge they won't take. There's an honorable, there's a general, there's an undesirable, and there's a, well, wait a minute, there's an honorable, okay? Then there's a general, then there's an undesirable, then there's a BCD, and then there's a DD. The DD is the worst. BCD, DD is dishonorable discharge. BCD is a bad conduct discharge. UD is an undesirable discharge. General is a general discharge under honorable conditions. And then there's the honorable discharge.
So what are the conditions of a general discharge?
It'd have to do with your conduct rating. You could get a general discharge and never had a court martial or anything, but just on how they marked you in a conduct rating over the period of time you were in. It's not a fair way of doing it, because
Yeah.
if you get transferred around enough,
Yeah.
they don't know who you are, and when one guy sees, oh, this guy got a 2, I give him another 2. They don't know you.
Oh, I see.
But if you're there in one outfit for any length of time, then they know you.
Then they get to know
And
you.
I think they get marked every 6 months. I'm not even sure how it's marked. But I know that it can, if you don't have the correct numbers, you can get a general discharge on the honorable conditions, they call it. And then you can fight it and get it up to an honorable. But I don't know about that. I got mine, I threw it.
Did you join any veteran groups? Any Marine Corps
I
groups?
belong to the Marine Corps League.
Oh, yeah?
That's a veterans, it's a Marine Corps League. It's an organization.
And did you go to any reunions?
No.
No?
You
I was
joined-
looking for ones that would be close by, but they're always on the West Coast or down in Florida. I ain't going nowhere. Then the chosen few, they have the reunions too, but I've never gone to them either. I used to wait for one to come to New York, but they never came to New York. It's very rare that they ever come. It's probably too expensive, that's why they don't
maybe.
have them there. Most of the reunions, you see them, they're down south or out west. They have a lot of them out west.
Did you ever go back to any of the places that you had been while you were a Marine? Like Parris Island or Camp
No.
Lejeune?
No, you mean back to the camps?
Or any of the
No,
places you were stationed?
no.
Well, you've been back to the Mediterranean.
Oh, I've been in the Mediterranean, on tour, we are on cruises and stuff like
Oh,
that.
nice, okay.
But I've never been to any of the military places, no.
Oh, okay.
I've never been. I was down once in Hilton Head, I was gonna go to Parris Island, but I got sick and I wound up not going.
Oh, okay.
But otherwise, I would have liked to gone on to see what Parris Island looks like today.
Yeah.
Compared to when we were there. There wasn't nothing there then, compared to what it is today.
Oh, okay.
From what people tell me,
Right.
Like I said, I've never been back. But it was all open land. Then, do you remember they had all the recruits got killed down there back in the 50s?
They drowned?
Court-martialed the drill instructor. They drowned it?
They drowned, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because we used to go out at night and take you out through the swamps and stuff.
Ugh.
But they panicked and they drowned. It really
Yeah.
wasn't. They made the drill instructor take the hit for it. But
Yeah.
it really wasn't. It was really an unfortunate accident.
Were you there then?
No. That was in the 50s. I was discharged in
50s?
52.
Oh, right, okay. Do you have questions?
That it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, I just want to say, Randy, that we're honored and humbled that you came here today to speak
Thank
to
you.
us of your sacrifice and contributions that you made in service to our country. And thank you, and God bless you, Randy.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
That's it?
Semper Fi.